Namaste. Before you enjoy this episode, please subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. China has decided that they'll have their own Google and their own Facebook, their own equivalent of Gmail, for a lot of reasons.
Very good.
Because we know that from all this hacking business, anybody with a Gmail account, you should assume that whatever you're typing, somebody else is listening, and somebody in another country. So I'm quite surprised that sometimes when I've written to senior government people, they use a Gmail account. And they say confidential on it, but it's not confidential.
It's a joke.
It's a joke. So we haven't created our own internet infrastructure. And so we may one day realize that this is a very serious mistake. We haven't created. Now, I think that with such a large population, a company would benefit. It would probably become a big international player, using the large Indian population to get a certain portion of them onto a new kind of a network. And a method might be to do local languages. If you were to do something in 20, 30 Indian languages and get a lot of people on the network, you would suddenly be a competitor, at least one of the top few.
Rajiv,
so why don't they do that?
Rajiv, let me answer this. I am very scared India has become a digital colony. India is owned by a Google, India is owned by a Facebook, India is owned by a Twitter. All our data, whether on Amazon or Facebook or Twitter or Google, is in servers in America.
Yes.
And those servers are accessed by the NSA.
Yes.
And President Trump and the US establishment. They know everything about us, our digital footprint, everything is known to them.
Right.
They can analyze and find out patterns and do what they want.
Right.
And they can subpoena and get data. They're doing it.
With big data, they're doing it.
They're doing it in a big way. Now, our government just doesn't get it. One of our ministers tweeted that Google is an Indian company, is very proud of it. They don't understand.
Yeah.
And all the unicorns, 10 out of the 10 unicorns, 8 are registered outside, owned substantially by foreign capital, not by Indian capital. Even a capitalistic class has not invested enough in technology to create the infrastructure. Now, what did China do? China made sure that all the data of Chinese citizens is located in China.
Right.
Now, we must have a law to make sure, a data privacy and data residency law, to make sure all our data is stored in data centers in India and it doesn't go out, and data residency is in India.
Right.
And anything that goes out to anybody else should be done through the process of law.
Right.
Now, if all the data of all this Google and everybody is stored here, even though foreign companies have no objection to them, if they're all stored here, the NSA cannot snoop on them.
Right.
They will, because they try to get the data, but the court, it will become an international incident.
Right.
Because against international law.
Yeah.
Against law.
Now today, I read some bad news. Alibaba
Exactly.
is launching,
I tweeted.
You tweeted.
I tweeted.
That's how I heard it. Launching cloud services in India to take over.
I know Government of India should not allow Alibaba to set up a cloud service for India, because Alibaba's data in the servers is accessed by the PLA.
Right.
It's accessed by the Chinese government.
Right.
Everybody knows it.
Right.
Now they want to set up a data centers here. They want to sell it, and everything. Alibaba, Aajao for what?
Let's look at the risks. One is intellectual property theft, because all this communication going on, they can access.
Yes.
Second is government, national security, because military people are talking, political people are talking. What's the ideology and politics going on? People are accessing it.
Yeah.
Another is conversion, evangelism. They know who's vulnerable. Another is making people fight. They know who's on which side.
And sell false news.
So and false. Another is fake news and all that. So you see, when you look at the battle for the mind, which is and Churchill, after World War II was over, they were decolonizing. He went to Harvard and made a very famous speech in which he said, the empires of the future will be empires of the mind. This is a Winston Churchill statement. Empires of the future will be empires of the mind, which is what's happening now.
Yeah.
The new imperialism, colonization, all of that is mental, knowledge, ideas kind of thing.
But that we need a government which understands all these, builds in these policies.
Yeah.
And Alibaba setting up data center, offering cloud is of heights.
Yes.
I mean, don't our people understand, don't the government understand that Alibaba will always have the data for the PLA, the Chinese will access it.
Yes.
Huawei has the largest part of our network, our data is going outside. And even the US believes they're putting, they're putting some cookies and whatever it is into the software to send the data outside, which can be accessed from outside.
Right.
All the cell phones with Chinese can be accessed from outside.
Right.
So I think we must put up barriers.
This is a very serious matter.
Very serious issue.
We will be kind of cyber colonized.
Yes.
The whole thing we will, and this is a very big problem.
Rajiv, there's a bigger problem. Now, as the US elections have shown, at the time of the elections, if I Google some news, Google by its algorithm can push the news they want me to know.
Yes, yes.
All the fake news can come about everything else, the news they want me to know. Facebook can do that. They're all doing that because of the algorithm.
Yes.
So our minds are being controlled. Our access to information is being controlled.
Right.
Our access to what we see, what we read is being controlled. You go to YouTube and you Google for some videos, for some topics, they send you the topic they want you to see.
So
and many people are susceptible, they fall into the trap because they just don't get it, how these things are coming up to them. They're actually controlling our mind.
Yeah.
Now we must fight this battle. It can come by having Indian champions, which I believe we should do. But first, you must have data privacy, data residency laws with a strict server. I want to be snooped by the Indian government,
right,
not by American government.
Or Chinese. Or
Chinese.
Yeah.
The reason is very clear. If my rights are infringed, I can go to the court and the court will protect me. But if they do it outside in America, the Chinese do it, which court is going to protect me?
Yeah.
I'm not protected. I'm a citizen of my country. My country's legal system should protect me. And that's what the government should do. And this is what should be the debate in society.
Yeah.
Not the shut down parliament because of some political...
These are the serious debates. What
Serious
we've talked about are some very serious issues that need to be national debates and aren't.
It is the question of our future, our digital identity, and our children's future and our mind.
Yes.
Now you can't have this country being owned by somebody else.
Yes.
And digitally be owned by somebody else.
Yes.
And I think this is what is really giving me sleepless nights.
Now you know how easy it was for this whole Russian hacking and all of this to go on. So even the United States, with all this counter thing going on, they are vulnerable. We are exceedingly vulnerable. I do not have the confidence that our networks are safe. I don't have the confidence.
No, it's not safe.
I think
it's
that,
not safe.
I think that maybe they're not wanting to talk about it because then it will be an embarrassment. But I am very suspicious as to how safe our telecom networks are, data networks are, clouds are, and so on and so forth. And this is probably the single most, or let's say one of the biggest threats we have.
It's the biggest threat, and I think we should sort it out immediately, and government should take cognizance. And Alibaba coming is the last straw.
And there's also information, for instance, Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia is biased. Wikipedia claims to be democratic, anybody can update and whatnot, but I know for a fact, I have a page, and the page was constructed by my opponents, and the evidence, the citations of quotes concerning my work are by my opponents. So my supporters started countering, and they were told, oh, you have to give academic peer-reviewed citations and whatnot, and these are not peer-reviewed because they meant peer-reviewed by Westerners.
Yeah.
So the whole Aryan invasion, Aryan theory, Wikipedia page is theirs. The whole idea of a whole lot of controversial topics about Ayodhya and all that is the opposing point of view. So when it comes to hard facts, it's fine. Just hard data, which is objective, is fine. It's very good resource for that. But when it comes to something where there's some subjectivity applied and some interpretation applied, it is vulnerable.
But Rajiv, that's why we must create a group of scholars who fight for you, who put forth your views.
Yes.
Like the Chinese do. Chinese have got scholars who put forth their views.
Yeah.
We need a group of scholars. We have to invest in Indology. We have to invest in our civilization studies. We must get all those scholars who fight the battle for us and do everything else.
Yes.
And if you don't do that and depend on somebody tender mercy outside and believe them, you will be subjected, you will be enslaved.
Yes.
It's the enslaving of the mind which is much more dangerous.
Right.
Now we must in the world we must be equals.
Yes.
We must not be subjugated. Now
Yes.
it's happening in a big way and we don't know about it. So
Yes.
I want Indian companies, I want Indian entrepreneurs to come up, I want a government to support us in the digital world. And I think it's time that we do much more.
Wonderful. And I just want to make a comment closing. Lot of successful corporate people, industrialist people are not giving back to our culture, our civilization, our nation and our society. And I'm very glad Mohandas Pai is one of the rare counterexamples. So what is your analysis of this point, that why are Indians, even though there's CSR law and they're supposed to give a certain percentage back, do you feel that they're really giving back to our civilization or giving back in some kind of a vested way?
They're not giving it back because they feel inadequate, they feel disdain for the Indians. See the Murthy library, I know Narayan Murthy, I respect Rohan. They got all Western scholars. I told them, Why don't you have Indian scholars?
Right.
They're saying, show me an Indian scholar and I'll do it.
Right.
But who's supposed to qualify him? Sheldon.
It's a chicken egg.
Sheldon Pollock.
Yeah, it's a chicken and egg
I
problem.
told him, why didn't you spend money in developing us?
We create those guys.
Creating and developing and give
See,
money.
if we could
no
create,
answer.
If we could create software people, which
Yes,
we didn't
why can't
have,
we create our own
why can't we
people?
create
Because,
Indologists?
Sheldon Pollock has got his own views.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not a friend of whatever we are.
Yeah.
He'll inject his own views because
Right.
he's got his own views.
Right.
He may have studied, yes, he studied, we respect him and everything else, but he has his biases. Wendy Doniger has a bias.
Right.
Now, I had somebody from the University of Chicago come and meet me, and I told them that, look, Wendy's got a bias. I said, you talk about sati being an issue in India. Sati is there in Bengal and one other place,
Right.
not in South India.
Right.
I've not heard of sati in South India.
And that
Jawhar
too,
is there in Rajasthan.
long ago. Yeah.
Long ago, as a reaction to Islamic invasion, because those days they used to take the women and children, take them to the slave market in Central Asia and sell them.
Right.
There's a book by a famous author who talks about the slave trade in medieval India. They didn't want to be part of the slave
Hindus
trade.
beyond the Hindu Kush.
Hindu
That's the title.
Kush. And they're all been sold as slaves. So they committed, they burned themselves because they didn't want to be committed. And they burned themselves because they believed their body would be defiled after death. Now, women went to the pyre for various reasons. Yes, some people got for, but it doesn't mean the whole of India follows sati. The whole of India did not follow sati. It's a very large thing. It's like the Salem, trials
Witch
for
trials.
witch trials. It's all the thing,
You
ethnic
cannot
cleansing.
turn that into American history.
You
and
can't
make
put
it-
that the whole of America. These are all isolated. All these things have happened. It's like that. All this fetish about Dracula and all in this thing, right?
Yeah.
In Europe. So these things happen. Now, these are all sought to be done into this. That's why we need our scholars to talk about us and to propagate our point. The Chinese are doing.
Yes.
Chinese are funding Confucius Institute. Chinese are doing. We should do it.
Right.
Now, the biggest industrial house gave $50 million to Harvard. I wish they're given an equal $50 million here. Somehow there's a disdain for Indians. They want to crave for the recognition of the world.
That is the point.
No, I don't mind, because if Indians want to set up something and get recognition, is fine. But when you do that, give an equivalent amount to this poor country and develop the system.
Right.
At the end of the day, we are living here. India is our future.
Yes.
India is our country.
Yes.
It's the only country we have.
Yes.
This is the country which gives us citizenship. This is the country which protects us by the rule of law.
Yes.
This is the country which has given us wealth. This is the Matra Bhumi. It's the Karma Bhumi.
Yes.
It's our Bhumi.
Yes.
We're going to die here.
Absolutely.
So we have to give it back.
Yes.
And I think it's very important to give it back. But I wish more and more people do that, Rajiv. And the biggest giving back should be to preserve a culture and preserve a thing. For example, I'm a Konkani. Okay? I get terribly sad my children don't speak Konkani. We are a small community of 2.5 million people. Our children are marrying outside, and our children are not speaking Konkani, they're speaking English, they're losing their culture. So I'm coming together to preserve our culture, preserve our language, preserve our cuisine, our lullabies, our dresses, everything else, and get them involved, make them feel proud. It's a losing battle. Why? Because, we are not invested enough. We don't have institutions which teach them the language, their culture, their history, make them proud. Even though both my sons are very proud of India. So I think I give back because I believe in my country. I'm very patriotic. I'm a nationalist. I love my country. And besides this country, what else do I have? I've got nothing else. I'm an Indian. I want to live here. This country has given me everything. And I fight for you also. You lived overseas, but you're fighting for my country. You still love India. You come here, you're spending your money, your time to build India and to preserve all that is good and noble of India.
And since I'm getting at a certain age where I have to be conscious of what will happen after this, I'm moving my intellectual property here. I'm finishing my own scholarship there, but replacing me and succeeding me would be young scholars based here, Swadeshi scholars. So we are doing a conference series. You're part of it. We appreciate that. We are creating an army of, my goal is 108 scholars to take over this kind of work and continue it into the future. We are building a brand on the whole internet and marketing, wanting to develop and market e-learning courses. So I want India as the place where all of this is, bringing intellectual property and infrastructure back to India. And therefore I am a little surprised when other Indians are doing in the reverse direction, taking what is ours and sending it there. So, if the best centers of Sanskrit studies are somewhere else, then we are back to
The
Macaulay.
government has not invested. Raji, the tragedy of this country, the British invested in Sanskrit, created the first Sanskrit colleges, gave grants. The British invested in Hinduism to give grants when they were colonized because they wanted to learn. After independence, Nehru disbanded everything. They debunked the whole thing because secularism doesn't mean you give up a civilization. It's the people's money, you must use it for the people.
So it's an inferiority complex to prove that we are getting rid of our own past and our own backwardness and becoming Westerners.
Our backwardness is due to colonial exploitation.
Yes.
Read Will Duran's book, The Case for India, you find out it's not due to something wrong with the genes or something wrong with us. We were the richest country in the world till 1850.
Right.
Let's be very clear about history.
Right.
And we are going to be one of the richest countries in the world by 2050.
Right.
All right, we are $8.8 trillion. We're the third largest economy in the world in PPP terms. In nominal terms, we'll be the third largest economy by 2030. By 2030, we'll be $10 trillion. We're going to be a large economy. We're growing, and nobody can stop it. So this is the future. So we have to believe in ourselves. We have to build ourselves and create a great society. And that will only happen when we, who achieve so much, become leaders, give it back, preserve our culture, help our people, and work with government to improve the ecosystem, to make everything inclusive of people, so more and more people benefit.
And on that fantastic, positive note and hope for the future, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajiv.
It's always
Good
been a
talking to you.
pleasure. It's always been a pleasure.
Thank
and
you.
we'll continue these conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.